just for the speaker. But I consider it quite a privilege to be able to be here tonight. There's so many outstanding graduates of the school that I was selected and invited to come here. Is really a great privilege. Tonight, we came a little early, and I could see how quickly the staff and faculty came in and organized this session. And I was terribly impressed with the kind of morale and spirit. You can just sort of feel it. And I also got to sort of watch as former students came by and greeted the staff. And you can see that there's really a very special relationship between the faculty and the students who've been here. And I can understand that kind of dedication, and I think it's really terrific. And I think there are a lot of people here who are working very hard to make this a successful program. I had the good fortune of knowing John Wheeler and Jim Baxter when they were students, and I can testify that they were excellent students. And I'm so happy that John is really going after this program and is so determined, as all the many things he could do and has done, to really work to try to make this on a solid material basis. I think those of us who are concerned about Japan know that we're under siege from a lot of directions, and all the public goods that we work so hard to get. I think it takes an extra to keep them now when things don't flow easily. It's not the days when the Japanese businesses were trying to get started in the United States and were eager to help with things. And so we all need to sort of work on this together. The first time I got to know this institution was 1975-76. And the quick story of my life is that I came to Japan too soon. I came in 1958 at a time when the IUC was not established. And I went to another school, and I can tell you I know the difference. And the reason I know the difference is that 75, 76, I came back to Japan for a year. I decided to sign up for 4 months at the school, the fall semester, in order to brush up my Japanese. What I didn't realize at the time was that that would be one of the most painful things I ever went through. And what was painful is that I had to undo all bad habits that I'd learned at the other school. And I'd spent from 1958 to 1975 squeaking by on really lousy pronunciation, lousy grammar, and I don't know whether many of you have gone through anything quite like that, where all the things you thought you knew, you had to go and realize you didn't know, and my teachers didn't know quite how to handle me because there were certain things that I knew, but there were certain things I had to go back to elementary lesson 1, and so therefore it was a very painful, it was more painful I think on my family than even on me, because we lived in a Shirogane-dai, Tokyo Lodge at that time, a very small place, a couple kids, and they could feel the tension of my going through this very painful, traumatic time. So, in a way, that made me appreciate all the more. And I'm jealous of all you people who got to do your language earlier and get it correct earlier. I suggested as the title tonight, why the school is number one. Is it on here now? Put that up, yes. Why Japan is no longer number one, and why IUC is still number one. What I felt why it's number one is because it really sets standards for the field that have endured. And having seen the situation before, I can testify the difference between having high standards and not, and precision and comfort and learning all the different aspects of the language. And then it made an enormous difference. And I think what that standard has meant is that the schools in the United States, like my colleague Wes Jacobson, who sends students here from Harvard, what that means is you have to have students who are prepared to meet it. And by having an organization of some of the best faculty in the United States, we see that the best students go here. And it's marvelous to me how the school has maintained that kind of quality of faculty all during that time. It's so hard in so many institutions now that I've been through, old enough to be through cycles of institutions, known that some that were very good in one period are not all that good in another. And this institution has somehow maintained that quality all the way through, and that esprit and setting up those standards which drive language training. And as somebody who's not a language specialist, but is concerned about relations between the United States and Japan, I can see how important it is to have Americans who really know the place well. For 17 years, I was in charge of the undergraduate program, East Asian Studies at Harvard. And I felt that those who passed a certain threshold in language would have it all their life. And I've seen a lot of people who had only 2 or 3 years of language and it dropped off. But I think the threshold of going through IUC, those people have all kept it. And you can still use it. You may be rusty on one thing or another, but you're still able to use it. And I personally feel that there's a breakthrough from understanding language that those people who don't have that language never quite break through. And as I look at a lot of people who write about Japan and talk, I would say about 95% of those who really know Japan well and I want to listen to are people who really have the language. So there's a tiny percentage of people somehow who have the empathy or the determination to learn about it without the language, but that's a very small number. So I applaud all of those of you who've done it.